Hey everybody, we're here with Wendy from ABODE, and we're excited and grateful to have you join us in our studio here, again at Grace Church. And ABODE Services is one of the bigger ones and servicing a lot of people that are struggling with homelessness, different housing-related issues. And I think it's important for our community to know everything that you guys are doing. And so we want to just get that information out. So if you could just introduce yourself, Wendy, and I know you have known you for a while now, and it's been a blessing to serve with you, to be a part of what you guys are doing, even just a little bit. So if you can tell everybody else in our community what you're doing so they can learn a little bit, and maybe there's people that want to be involved, and we can talk about how they can become involved, because you are a nonprofit organization, whether they're going to want to support financially or volunteer, because I know you have a lot of opportunities in both areas and more. So why don't you go ahead and just kind of introduce ABODE and tell us a little bit about the organization.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me, Aaron.
Of course.
I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Wendy Moore. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for ABODE here in Napa. ABODE Services is a larger organization than just this county. We actually serve 8 counties in the Bay Area, Napa being one of the newer. We've been in Napa for about 8 years.
Okay.
Our mission is to end homelessness in the communities we serve.
That's a big mission.
It's a big mission.
Important, but big.
In Napa, we are contracted with Napa County and the City of Napa to provide homelessness services throughout our county from end to end. We have an outreach team, so we meet people on the street where they're living, whether it's in a tent, an RV, a doorway, or somewhere else on the street that they've inhabited. The outreach team works to get people into services. They work really hard with folks to gain trust and then move them along into services, whether it is temporary housing in one of our shelters. We run 2 shelters for the county and the city, the South Napa Shelter and the North Napa Center. And they're on either side of town, so there's a lot of opportunities for people to get a roof over their head if that is what they want, if that's what they need. Then we have a housing team that works hard with folks to actually get them from either from the streets or from shelter into housing. There's a lot of steps that go into that process. It's not an overnight thing. It actually takes quite a while. But the team works hard to move people along again in that process. And then we run 2 permanent supportive housing sites in Napa, actually 3, a very small one on Adrian Court, and then the Heritage House and Valley Verde property, and then Valley Lodge Apartments in South Napa. So there's more opportunities in Napa now than when we started 8 years ago to house people in a really appropriate setting. Permanent supportive housing is a place where we can house people out of homelessness, some of whom have been homeless for a very long time on the streets and would have trouble adjusting to life alone in an apartment. So PSH sites, as we call them, are places where all of the residents are coming out of homelessness, or the majority, I'm going to say, because some of the units are for other purposes, but most of the residents are coming out of homelessness. We have staff on site, service staff on site for the week, that can serve people. So what do we do with folks in permanent supportive housing? We provide those services through our service staff that people need in order to become stabilized in their housing. This can be getting to health appointments, getting to mental health appointments, getting to appointments with their whatever services they're needing at the time. It can be helping people to get their driver's license or their ID so that they can stay in housing. It can be making sure that people are cleaning their units, supporting them in that. And the major thing actually in the long run that helps people in these settings is building community. So people moving out of homelessness are literally moving from one type of culture to another. And that's a big transition for folks. And that's where our services come in.
Okay. And so the permanent supportive housing doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to live there forever. Or does it mean that they have, is there a cap on how long folks can live in some of the housing units, the permanent supportive housing units specifically, or are those individuals that maybe need a little bit more of an enhanced level of care for a longer period of time?
So
does that make sense?
Permanent support, it does. And we get this question a lot. Permanent supportive housing is permanent. It's not transitional. It's not temporary. Do people stay in it forever? No, not always, but sometimes. Okay. So it sort of depends on what people need and where they begin to feel comfortable. We have moved some people into PSH units. They get into the community, they get involved, and then they decide maybe to go to school, maybe to move on and get a job. A lot of our folks are now in school and gaining employment, and that might take them a different direction in life, and they may want to move out somewhere else. And that is that's an option for them. A lot of folks do that. And then we have other folks who just get comfortable in that environment. It's where they belong and they stay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's obviously permanent supportive housing sounds pretty self-explanatory. However, I don't want to assume I've done that before, so I just wanted to clarify.
It's a common question.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I'm glad we clarified that then.
Yeah.
And then the other folks that are in the shelters that are getting housed, that is not permanent supportive housing. How does that work? I know you said it can be more of a lengthy process. Can you give us maybe a couple steps on what that looks like?
Yeah, the steps from being homeless to getting housed they are different for literally every person. So I'll just give an example. Sometimes the first step in getting housed is to get what we call document ready. And so it is making sure if you have access to an income, but you're not accessing it right now, take care of that. Make sure you're signed up for Social Security or whatever other kind of supports are out there. Sometimes it means getting to a place where you can get employment because you don't have the level of income that could even support a low-income subsidized unit. So we need to make sure that people's income meet the requirements for the rental units that are available. Okay. So we kind of have to match people's abilities, needs, and resources with the units that are available. And that is a dance that I can't do, that our housing staff, however, is very, very good at.
Yeah, it's very individualized. It's not really cookie cutter. It's very individualized based on the needs, which is...
Very much so. Yeah. What we like to say is we meet people where they are. And that can be physically, and that can also just be materially, what's your situation? We go from there.
Now, do you guys help with all the documentation, the paper that needs to be filled out? Do you have the service staff? If an individual comes in and they need to get Social Security and, just deal with a bunch of other, complex kind of life issues to get back on track, do you sit down and have your staff go and actually help them complete the documents, or do you take them? Okay.
Literally.
So they actually do.
So our staff will sit down and complete documents with people. They will take them to appointments. They will make appointments with them to go to either Social Security or the DMV or the various places where they might need to go, the Department of Records with the county, sometimes with birth certificates. We've had our staff figure out how to get people's green cards. We've had our staff figure out how to get birth and death records that are needed, or possibly marriage certificates that are needed in order for people to become document ready for housing.
Wow. And then when it comes to employment, do you help with resumes and applications and help kind of get them kind of pass the baton, if you will, to the employer?
So I would say we leave that to other experts.
Okay. What
we do is we connect folks with employment services that are existing in town, who have the resources to help people with uniforms and education and all the things that they need to become employed or to take a particular job. For example, we had someone at the shelter who was studying at the adult school for a nursing degree, the lowest level nursing degree. And she reached a point, she was able to pay for her classes without a problem. And then the final course was more expensive, required some books, required a uniform because she was going to have to do some face-to-face internship. And it required a fee to take the final test that would get her her degree. So she didn't have that money, and she came to us and said, I'm this close. How can we get, how can you help me get there? Because I can't afford this right now. And her name came up, which is a rare thing for this test, right? So we were able to help this client connect her to workforce services with Napa County that pays for all the things that it would take for her to get a degree that gets her a job, a good job. And she got a great job. And she comes back every now and then. She moved out, she's paying her rent, she's living on her own, and she comes back to the shelter every now and then and does blood pressures and, kind of takes care of the folks that she came up in homelessness with. Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah. So we connect people with the services out there that can help them.
Yeah. So if you don't do it yourselves, then you'll put them in touch with the people that do.
Right. We do our best to find the resources that folks need.
So if there was, for folks that maybe are learning a little bit more about, kind of how you guys serve in the community, if they were to come across someone that may need some help or is asking for some help, is there a good reference point, a phone number or a location that they could send an individual? At least we can, in the community, be able to send people to the right place to try to connect with services. What's the best avenue for folks that are looking for services that maybe haven't encountered the outreach team yet to go?
We have a main number for ABODE. If you encounter someone you're concerned about or who's experiencing homelessness and you think that they could use some services, our team can look into that. They can either go and do a visit with someone to see if they're already in our services, if they're needing help. And the best thing to do is really to call our main number, leave a message for outreach.
Okay.
ABODE outreach. The second thing, though, I want to say, if you're concerned about somebody having a medical crisis, please call 911. Don't call us. We would call 911. And if you're concerned about somebody, if you are concerned about a crime that's happened, please call the police department.
I appreciate that. And I'm sure there's a reason you're mentioning that. So that's a good reminder. You guys deal with folks who are needing help with housing, not anybody that might be experiencing some level of crisis or committing a crime or being the victim of a crime.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes, and so the point of entry for services for anybody experiencing homelessness will be physically South Napa Shelter.
Okay.
Or over the phone, our outreach team. So that's literally the beginning point into services for most folks experiencing homelessness is to get an intake from our team.
Okay.
There's other places that will do intakes, but that's through other channels. So if it's just somebody coming in straight off the streets, the best place to physically go, South Napa Shelter, just go to the front desk and tell the team that they want to enroll in services. Or they can call that main number and ask the outreach team for an intake.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. It seems simple, but just educating everybody on what to do, because I think a lot of folks have probably experienced, I don't really know how to help this individual or what to say, or maybe we're just not familiar with services, or maybe we know, and in the community that, okay, ABODE helps folks get housed, but I'm not really sure how to pass the baton or what, at least we have a few steps. You can say, okay, this is what you need to do now. You can call this number, or you can show up down there in order to start your services. So I think those pieces of information are really great to get out.
And if that's if you encounter someone you're concerned with. Chances are most people in Napa if you've seen them more than once and think that they're experiencing homelessness, chances are we are connected with them in some way or another.
And that's a good. How many people currently are receiving service from ABODE in Napa?
So all told, from end to end in our housing services and in outreach services and in between, we are serving over 900 people at any given time in Napa County.
Wow.
So that remember that includes our permanent supportive housing, and we do follow people once they're housed in other scattered sites. We will continue to do case management services with folks for as long as they need it. The PIT count, the point in time count, just came out, and it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 400. Don't quote me on this, okay? It's in the 400s.
Approximately.
Approximately. We're super excited that in the last 2 years, and this is largely due to our county and city partners leaning in on housing, the count of people experiencing homelessness has gone down. 2 years ago, it decreased, unsheltered homelessness decreased by 45% in Napa County. And that is due to a concerted effort to create shelter space and housing space for people who are chronically homeless.
Wow. 45% reduction in homelessness, unhoused,
In unsheltered homelessness.
unsheltered. That's incredible.
Yep.
I wasn't expecting to hear, when we talked, previous to this. So that's a lot of people receiving services, which probably requires a good amount of staff support and a lot of funding needs, I would imagine, to be able to facilitate all this. And you guys are a nonprofit organization and in part working off donations. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. What we typically need donations for, need what we'll call flexible funding for, are for those things that are not covered by government contracts or by subsidies, which is the majority of rent for folks who can't afford full rent is covered by some sort of subsidy. That's a huge number that we couldn't even approach with donations. But what we do need are in-kind donations for the shelter, so toiletries for our showers program. One thing I didn't mention before is that our South Napa shelter is also home to day center services that serves anyone who's living on the streets, can come in there, they can take a shower, they can have a hot meal, which is donated by generous restaurants in our community. They can have it as an address to get their mail, they can take showers, they can do their laundry, and all of those services are free for folks who need them. Wow. So we need support for those programs. Anything that you can think of that you would want for a shower, we need it at the South Napa shelter. We also, monetary donations are very much appreciated. What we need those kind of donations for is basically the gaps. What I talk about is the funding gaps. Surprisingly, a lot of our contracts do not cover things like application fees, fees for getting document ready, the kind of documents that we talked about that you absolutely need to present to a landlord in order to get housed. They don't cover things like furniture, furnishings, housewares for when people move into a unit. And for us, the dignity of moving into a unit that feels like a home is incredibly important, not only for a person's dignity and self-esteem, but also as a part of the process of moving from homelessness into housing. Moving into an empty unit is one of the major reasons people leave immediately and just decide they can't do it because it's a little depressing and overwhelming. So we try to take care of that and give people a solid start so that they can succeed in housing.
Okay, so just to ask some clarifying, so the hygiene products, if somebody was to want to donate some of the hygiene products or different things, the toiletry items, would they just go on their own to Target and just kind of buy, for example, or wherever? I'm not advertising or promoting Target. You want to go there, great. Go to the store, buy the items, put them in a bag and show up and just say, here you go? Or would you prefer that they contact to say, hey, what do you need? And then secondarily, after you answer that question, like house furnishing. If somebody has a couch or beds or dishware or anything like that, do you guys take those in? Do you guys pick up the donations? And then kind of what are logistically, how does that work? And I'm assuming lastly, you would like stuff that's in good condition, that doesn't look like it has coffee stains all over it and rips and things like that. So, so that we can obviously give our best and help people really get a head start.
Yeah. So thank you for that question, Erin. And yes, we accept donations in a variety of different ways. So sometimes people just show up with items. What I prefer would be for people to contact me, and it can be done through that main number for donations.
Okay.
And just either ask what we need, or if you have things, a lot of times people have items at home or from somebody that they know, just check in and see if that's what we need, at the time. We have very limited storage space. And so sometimes we're not able to accept donations that come through the door. As far as toiletries and hygiene items, everything needs to be unopened. And for things like razors and so forth, new. For towels and other items like that, they need to be clean. Jackets, when we do a jacket drive, is the same thing. Anything soft, it needs to be clean. It can be gently used, but no pet hair, no stains, and no tears.
I mean, we want to the community that we serve, we want to give them the best that we can. We want to serve them the best. It might not be brand new, but we want to give them the dignity of having something that is clean. And yeah, so the whole idea of it's better than nothing kind of a thing. I feel like, again, we ought to have a little bit of a higher standard on ourselves to give our best. If we wouldn't want to receive it, then we probably shouldn't give it.
Right.
And again, used stuff is great. I mean, most people will take care of their stuff, and so we'll post your email if anybody has questions or wants to reach out about the hygiene or furnishing. They can coordinate with you. We'll also post the phone number on there as well, so if they prefer to call, they can call. Are you guys looking for volunteers for anything specific, or do you just kind of have continual needs in various areas?
Yeah, we're not looking for volunteers for anything specific. People who are interested in volunteering should contact me. Okay. We definitely have some opportunities at our housing sites to do some sort of community building events and things if people are interested in that. Sometimes we need help in our kitchen at South Napa Shelter. Sometimes we need help with donation drives, especially in the winter and the holiday season. So yeah, contact me, and especially if you have ideas for donation drives or have a group that wants to do something positive for our community.
Okay, great. Well, I really appreciate you coming out. I'm grateful for what you guys do. I'm grateful for you and your heart. But thanks for coming by. We're looking forward to continuing working with you, and hopefully we'll get some folks reaching out to ask questions. And so keep your eyes out. More videos to come. Again, Wendy with ABODE, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.